A very good evening and welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of some of your top business news stories of the day. My name is Nzinga Qunta and we begin as usual with your number of the day. And today that number is 237 billion rand. That, according to the Unisa Momentum Net Wealth Index, is how much real net wealth was lost in South African households between the second and third quarter of 2019. They point to factors such as that protracted trade war between the world's two largest economies, China and America, Eskom woes and a weak economy for those losses. So a huge hit there, but that study sees a recovery in outlook for quarter four, with households set to end 2019 richer than they were in 2018. Of course, we'll only get those statistics a little bit later on. Let's talk more about wealth and the patterns around it with Quintessentially Africa CEO, Paulo Dos Santos. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. So when we're seeing large losses in world markets and shrinkage with the world economies, are you also seeing that in terms of how people perhaps in your company spend or don't spend?
Well, good night. Thank you for the invitation. Obviously, high net worth individuals are very sensitive regarding the momentum about the economy. So when we have crisis or the environment itself is not in a growing way, you obviously our members they are very sensitive to these fluctuations that we can have in the markets. So obviously, we start feeling from the beginning some careful about the way they spend money or the way that they are traveling or they are organizing events. So they are very sensitive to this kind of crisis that might happen.
So you have experience as to how high net worth individuals spend their money across the different regions or the different parts of the continent. Give us some insight into this. Does someone who is in South Africa, who's a high net worth individual, perhaps spend differently and have different experiences than someone who would be in Nigeria or Morocco?
Well, about South Africa itself, every country is different. In South Africa, what we discovered that is different from the other markets, it's, for instance, our members here, they have a really concern about education. So the education about their sons, and this goes from the kindergarten to primary school, university, or even doing an MBA or a PhD. So this is something that it's very focused about South Africa that we don't have that much in other markets. So education is key about high net worth individuals in South Africa itself. Apart this, we have always a big issue regarding the visas. So most of the high net worth individuals, they fly for business to Europe or to UK or US, and this is always tough to manage all this access. So this is something that we really need to improve in the continent itself, in the inbound and outbound regarding governments. So the access in terms of high net worth individuals to go to other countries and to promote investment, to make a business grow, sometimes gets difficult for the access in terms of the visas, for instance.
Okay. So if we are looking at reports around what the future of Africa is going to look like, there's a report by Knight Frank which says the number of multimillionaires in Africa will grow over the next 10 years at a faster rate than anywhere else in the world. What opportunities are there specifically for the luxury sector, bearing that in mind, and is the continent ready for that?
Well, I think that we still have a lot to recover. Just to give you a few numbers, North America has 100 times more high net worth individuals than Africa. And the population of Africa is the double of North America. So there is still a big gap that we need to recover. So meaning that we are growing faster than the others, but just in terms of percentage. So the numbers are we are still very far away. Being that we feel during the past year and even now for 2020, you have a lot of summits UK Africa, Russia Africa, Japan Africa. So I think all the world has the eyes in Africa regarding opportunity in terms of growing business. Because when you go to Europe or you go to US or other countries, margins they are squeezed, opportunities they are not that much, and competition is hard. So where we need really to build everything, it's Africa, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of hospitality, for instance. And when you see that tourism last year had 1,500 million arrivals in terms of tourists worldwide, and this is an industry that is growing fast and consistent in the last 10 years, I think Africa still is a kind of a keep secret for most of the people. So traditional people go to the same places. And I think that Africa, it's such amazing, it's not just about the wildlife that most of the people that they are in Europe or they are in the US they think about, but we have such amazing offer in terms of diversity of nature. We have two oceans, we have the bush, we have the desert, so the biodiversity in terms of Africa is big. So I would say that we have a big potential, and I think that even President Ramaphosa highlighted in the one of the last speaks that tourism should be a focus in terms of growing for South Africa. For the continent, I believe that this can be really an easy way and fast way of growing and making economy and creating jobs. That is one of the biggest challenges that we have happen.
Okay, let's talk about the perception of luxury and what luxury is, especially when it comes to the African continent. I know that with intra-Africa tourism in Johannesburg, we get a lot. We also have a lot of luxury stores here, perhaps that aren't on the rest of the continent. Is it a time for one managing how Africans produce luxury and also managing the perception around what luxury is?
Well, when you look to the market itself, you see that all the brands, the growing in terms of stores or experiences or access is being done in the last years in Asia and Africa. Africa is the place where really brands can grow. Us, quintessentially ourselves, and usually we say that quintessentially we sell happiness, and everybody wants to buy happiness. So in terms of quintessentially our focus in terms of developing now, and because we are in 60 countries all around the world, is Africa itself. So it's the big opportunity for us to develop all the access in terms of the luxury services. And I think that globally all the brands, they are looking into Africa in terms of opportunity to enter the market. Mm-hmm. And for African brands, as you were mentioning, and looking to your lovely dress, I believe that there is a lot that Africa can bring also to the world in terms of the patterns, in terms of the textures, the fabrics that we use, and the colors. But we needed to build brands. So this is something that really the continent needs to be helped. It's about branding itself. And even that you have amazing and very creative people, we really need the help of specialists in terms of the branding itself. But okay. I believe that this can be a huge and a very good successful story for Africa.
Thanks so much for your time this evening. The CEO of Quintessentially in Africa, Paulo Dos Santos, joining me in the studio there.